Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Youth Matters. Youth Matters is a show where we try and look at local, national and international issues affecting our youth here in Britain and also locally and globally. Now, today's show is looking at why a lot of our students, despite all the different opportunities presented to them, still do not succeed. And we will hear from the perspective of our youths, from professionals, to try and break down what those challenges are. Why is it that with all of these different opportunities and luxuries that previous generations might not have had, why is it that some still seem to fall into that net of not making it to the standards that we expect? Alhamdulillah, amrar Youth Matters show, amra ekটার মাঝে ডিসকাস করি, আমরা youth young ভাই বোনেরা তারা এখানে অত সুযোগ থাকিয়া তারা এখানে সব সময় সাকসেসফুল হইন না। কতজন দেখুন আপনি হুনতা পারেন পড়ালেখাত বালা করেন না, খাম ফাইন না, অত সুযোগ থাকিয়া পড়ালেখাত খামর এই দেশও থাকিয়া এখানে তারা এই চ্যালেঞ্জটা না নিয়ে তারা লাইফের মাঝে ফাইন। This show is all about the youth, okay? This is a show where we want to hear from you. Because youth matters, and this is the show where it's relevant to the experiences that you have on a day-to-day basis. Even if it doesn't affect you, this issue, no doubt it might affect a friend of yours or a family member or someone that you know. So what I want you to do is I want you to get involved, okay? The number is 0208 523 4111. Okay, at any time during the show, please phone in and get involved with the discussion because it's about you. Parents, if you're watching this, okay, this might affect your child, this might not affect your child, okay? But we want to hear from you because today's discussion involves you because a lot of our youths aren't succeeding and we want to know why that could be. If your child is successful, tell us why is it that they've done well and what could other parents learn so that their children can also benefit. এই show হইলো একটা আপনারা আমরা ইয়াং ভাই বোনেন যে দেখরা তোমার আপনারা দায় একটা নানি relevant topic. So please গুরাউকা ঘুরে আমরা লগে শরীক হোক ডিসকাশন আমরা হোক এখানে আমরা কত ইয়াং ভাই বোনেন পড়ালেখা লাইফও সাকসেসফুল ওইরা না আমরা মাফ যে আপনারা দেখরা আপনারা মাশাআল্লাহ যদি হুরতাইতে বালা করা লাইফও আপনারা আমরা হোক আপনারা কি জিনিস করছেন যেটার দায় তালা বালা করা আর আমরা যে মাফ থাকেন যার হুরতাইন ধরে লোক অত বালা করা না আপনারা ঘুরাও আমরা আপনারা এক্সপিরিয়েন্সেস হোক আর আমরা স্টুডিওর মাঝে আমরা ইয়াং বাইয়েন আসেন আমরা প্রফেশনালস আসেন আমরা একটা ডিসকাস করব. Okay, now today I'm delighted to welcome you and introduce my guests. So I'll start from my right. Okay, Tanvir, welcome to the show. Okay, now Tanvir, really quickly, okay, we're trying to inspire the watching audience at home. Okay, so tell me something that you've done recently, okay, that you did for the very first time.
For the very first time.
For the very first time, something that you did.
Something I did for the very first time. I guess it was. Oh gosh, could you come back to me later? Because I
Okay, that's absolutely fine.
I can't really think.
Okay, so I'll come back to you. Now, we're quite fortunate, mashallah, we've got two Tanvirs in the house today, okay? So Tanvir, tell me something that you've done recently for the very first time. Because we've got so many people at home watching this. And what we want to do is inspire people, our young generation, our parents as well, to get out there and do and try new things.
Well, a new thing that I started for the very first time in my life was about a year and a half ago I started, and it was learning a new language.
Okay, mashallah.
So, and that was Arabic, obviously.
Okay.
And when I was younger, I just grew up with three languages, so I was always trilingual.
Three languages,
Yeah,
that's quite interesting. Which languages do you use?
Italian,
Italian.
English, obviously,
Okay.
and Bangla, seeing as I'm Bengali.
Brilliant, mashallah.
And I always knew these languages, so I was always trilingual and never really branched out. But when I moved to London with my family, my mother was also one of the reasons why I decided wanted to do this.
So that's why you've taken it up?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
because it's gonna help. It can help me both in the business world because
There's a lot of opportunities in
all
the Arab
opportunities,
lands and
more
stuff
languages,
like that. Brilliant.
employers want that kind of diversity.
Excellent.
And it can help me also with my religious part, with
Absolutely,
my deen, as
so your
it will,
spiritual side of things as
it
well.
will help me understand the Quran a lot better.
Okay, brilliant. And our third guest is Rafiq. Brother Rafiq, it's never too late to learn. Okay, out of the senior guests that we have you done something recently that you did for the very first time?
I think at my age it's quite difficult to do something for the very first
I don't
time.
buy that. I know people who are in their
comparison to these
60s who are
brothers,
learning new things. Go on.
But I think I've resumed something that I haven't done in a very long time. I've resumed playing football.
MashaAllah.
So,
Okay.
something to get
So I
back.
guess, you know, that in itself is something new. Tanvir, I haven't forgotten about you. Okay.
Yeah, I guess after thinking about it, I think recently I picked up running just to
Okay,
improve my
mashallah.
cardiovascular fitness
Brilliant.
and just to improve my stamina. I think just keeping your heart healthy, keeping your body healthy, keeping all your joints moving and whatnot, I think that's like really important to your body. And it could, like, if you've got a really stiff body, if you're not really running a lot, then you might just get slow at a whole bunch of different things. So yeah, I think that's really important for me and for a lot of people to do.
And I think sometimes people tend to think when you do something for the very first time, it has to be something that you pay, that costs you something. And I think, like you say, just putting some trainers on running doesn't really cost much, okay? Doesn't cost anything, but it's absolutely brilliant for your health. Okay, now that's given you a bit of time to settle in. Today we're discussing, the title of today's show is, Are Parents Failing Their Children? Now, obviously, there's a much bigger discussion to be had, okay? What do you think, Tanvir? What kind of challenges do you see our youths having in this day and age? You know, let's talk about, rather than trying to cover all of it, just give me one that you think really affects our youth from, you know, that leads to them underachieving.
I think there's a disengagement with education.
Okay.
I think there's a big disengagement with education. It's like once children they hit a barrier in education in year 7, 8, 9, 10, whichever year it is, they hit a barrier because they just can't engage with the teachers, they can't engage with the youth around them, and this means ultimately means that they're not able to positively contribute something to society, positively contribute to their own upbringing. They're not. So I think that it's just a little barrier
It's that
stopping them from achieving their
engagement
potential.
to school.
Pardon?
Engagement to school.
Yeah, school education in general. As well.
Okay, that's really interesting. Now, Tanvir, I think there's a lot of parents watching at home, okay, and our young audience as well, our young brothers and sisters. Many will argue that, look, you know, this is a golden time for us in terms of education because there's so many opportunities. And, you know, you've got, you know, in this country, it's one of the best education systems you can get. So for Tanvir to say that, okay, that's a really interesting. What is your take on that? What do you think is, do you agree? Do you disagree?
On his take, I actually do agree, especially seeing as I only recently finished my GCSEs. And definitely, I noticed that like there were certain parts of the year, especially in year 10, when the exam stress just wasn't there, just people weren't thinking about it. Everyone was kind of disengaged. But even regardless
So during their GCSEs, when, you know, as a parent, you would think that is the most crucial time, okay? And you ask anyone, you know, what is the most crucial period for our young brothers and sisters? You're saying during GCSE time, there are students who are disengaged.
Not necessarily during the time, let's say a week before, or actually during the exam itself. I'm saying even like a year before. May seem like a lot of time to a lot of us, right? It's like, oh, I got a year, it's fine. I can do this by next year. But it's not true.
Okay,
people disengage. People think to themselves, "I can do this. If I can have a little fun, a little more fun now, and buckle down later." And there's also the fact that even despite the fact we have so many faculties, so many opportunities, teachers, side courses, so many things, right? I think one of the biggest things, other than disengagement, is the fact that we take it for granted. Okay. So much stuff is given to us, so much stuff.
So are you saying this lazy kind of laid-back, relaxed attitude leads to many students almost realizing at the end, and that's when they panic and they start trying to sort themselves out, and that could be a potential reason why? Yeah?
That could be really, I don't want to say dangerous because it seems a little melodramatic, but a little dangerous, right? Because there's some people who procrastinate a lot, right? And it just doesn't click into their head until it's happening in the moment. That's when they realize, damn, I gotta do this.
That's really interesting. Now, I hear what Tanvir is saying, Brother Rafiq. Now, procrastination, do you feel that, do you agree with that? Because someone who's, you know, mashallah, more senior, what's your take on that?
I mean, I do agree with it, but I think in terms of there's other external influences that we have to take in consideration, especially for our youth. Yes, in comparison to when I was in secondary school, the education system now locally is much better. There's vast support. Back in those days when I was growing up, you know, I didn't even know.
So how does it, sorry to cut you off, how does it feel to hear that you've just said it's improved vastly. It's to hear that students are still disengaged with all the opportunities that they have.
For me, again, like I said, there's other external factors. I think there's so much other things that young people are interested in, such as making money, easy money, illegal money through drugs. Children are nowadays, if you look in the community, you've got young children driving very, very expensive cars, wearing very expensive clothes, jewelries, etc.
So I guess what you're saying is it's not necessarily, and I think it's quite interesting because it's not that they're disengaged in school because of school itself, it's because there's so many other external distractions that is leading them to then not value the education that they have in front of them.
Absolutely, because for them, they think about it, okay, fine, fair enough, I might get my GCSEs or go on into higher education, further education, secure myself employment, but what is this going to make them end of the day in comparison to what young people are making on the streets, selling drugs, etc. So it's much more easy money. That's what they think, and influence is too much. And I think there's the media that's involved. There's other, in terms of internet, etc. Then you get people pushed into all this stuff. Then you got peer pressures, etc. So I think there's like 3 types of groups here. There's one that is really focused in education, and alhamdulillah, they're doing very well. And we hear those news every, I'm sure come this August, we'll read about it on the newspapers, like A stars, etc. they'll be getting. Then you'll have the middle ground, and then you'll probably have the other children that are running opposite direction.
It's really interesting. Now, as we're discussing, we're looking at why, whether there's many reasons as to why an individual does not succeed in life. And we're trying to explore what those reasons are. And like I said at the start of the show, 028 523 4111, we want to hear from you, our young brothers and sisters. Do you agree with, what our guests are saying? Can you relate to that? Do you know someone who might have experienced something similar, or you've seen that? Our parents. Have you noticed that in your children? If you're a parent whose child is in year 10, have you seen that? Have you seen that disengagement? Maybe, even parents who have children at university, college. Is the focus there? Alhamdulillah, আমরা শহর স্টার্ট হইছি, আমরা চাই আপনারা গেছেন হুনতান। Okay? So আমরা কতটা ডিসকাশন করান স্টুডিওর মাঝে। আপনারা বুঝেন যদি আপনারা একটা লগে এগ্রি করেন, ডিসএগ্রি করেন, আপনারা প্লিজ ঘুরাই আমরা লগে এই ডিবেট ও ডিসকাশন ও শরীক হোক। 0208 523 4111. Now, Tanvir, Brother Rafiq's touched upon the fact that it might be some of the other external factors. Okay? What do you think, in your opinion, is one of the most prominent factors as to why a student is disengaged in, say, education?
Well, I'd say maybe perhaps it's a lack of motivation.
Okay.
I'd say. It's like the children, and the way you get motivation is you have to set yourself a goal early in life. Like you're 7, 8 or 9, you got to say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an astronaut, this and that. And this goal has to come early for you to have a good start in education. Now, if children at this young age, 7, 8, 9, 10, they don't set themselves that goal, then they've got no motivation to reach anything. There's nothing to reach. So there's a huge lack of motivation. And so what needs to be happening at this age is that the parents, teachers, friends as well, they need to be pushing each other, their friends, they need to be pushing the children as well to really tell them, make your goals. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? And it's up to the parents to try and help them motivate. It's just all about setting that target, I'd say.
Would you say, have you experienced that in your personal life? Is that how it was for you?
With me personally, with me I already had the
your parents,
Pardon?
Your parents are watching this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so be careful about what you say.
Yeah,
now, but on a serious note,
I've had for me personally, I've had the first part of the motivation, which is I got to get the grades, I know what to do, and I had the motivation to put myself into the subjects that I need to do well in. But the hard part for me, the second part of motivation is actually getting down there and getting the job done, motivating yourself through the exam period.
Sure.
And that was kind of one of my barriers.
We'll come back to that because that's a really important point. Tanvir, who do you think, so the other Tanvir spoke about motivation and setting those goals, goals in life. Who do you think sets those goals?
Well, in part, it would kind of be your parents, right? Depending on how you're brought up, what your surroundings were in general, you're gonna grow to like whatever was around you at a young age. But ultimately, what truly affects what you wanna do in life is yourself, what you like. Now, I'm not saying that when parents say, "Oh, I really want my kid to become an engineer, a doctor, whatever," right?
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing because parents have expectations. They want their kids to be as successful as possible as they possibly can, and yeah, I think parents have a big role in setting that motivation. But ultimately, it's up to the individual themselves to really think about what they want to do, and they can easily go to other places, to the parents, to teachers and whatnot. But realistically, a lot of time what happens is if someone does have a goal in mind, they don't really go to other people. They just think to themselves, okay, I want to do this, I'm set on this.
But I think, Rafi, but that's really interesting because from our youths, what we hear is that, you know, ultimately it's the, you know, it's parents, they play a big part in that, but it's ultimately the youth. Now, say if that youth is misguided, what they kind of look towards as being successful, their kind of targets, it opens up that challenge, doesn't it? So how do you, you know, first of all, parents, how big of a part do they play? And secondly, you know, do you agree with what Tanvir is saying?
I think I do agree with both companies what they're saying, but I think parents play the most significant part in the child's upbringing. The point is, you know,
out of all stakeholders,
yes,
from your, because obviously, mashallah, you've got a social work background. So from your,
I think parents, because parents are the identity. It's what their parents teach them, ultimately, or what they don't teach them is who they become. For me, it's very important that, well, both the Tanvirs have said that there has to be some form of goal setting there, motivation there, even if it's to do good in life. In the right way. Yeah, you can do good in life, make a lot of money through legal means, but I'm talking about the right way. Yes, you know, in the past we've probably heard within our community, I want my son or my daughter to become a doctor or etc. You know, some of the children, they don't want to do that. When they grow older, they can make their own choices. But as long as it's a good choice, it should be supported. But I think my point is, in terms of going back to what you were saying, in terms of if their children are going towards the wrong direction, that's where parents need to come and intervene and need to literally stop them somehow or another way. And they have to have the influence. How do they? But they need to know what's going on, because majority of the time it's a bit too late. When the parents find out, it's either the son's, or, you know, the child's been involved within the criminal justice system. They're probably gone into prison, etc. That's when they find out, and then it's become very difficult. So as parents, we need to take responsibility, not only supporting the education of the children, but also find out on a day-to-day basis exactly what's going on with their lives.
Now, you know, brothers and sisters, young brothers and sisters watching at home, I think, and parents as well, ask yourself, have you actually set a target in life? You know, have you had that conversation with your parents? Even if you didn't have it with your parents, did you do this something on your own kind of understanding? And, you know, once again, 0208 523 4111, we really want to hear from you, because this program is all about trying to learn from one another. And I want you to get involved. Okay, so, and the number's on the screen, so please do call us, get involved, because it might be that you haven't set a target in life, but yet you've done well. Okay, so please do get in touch and let us know. Alhamdulillah, amra bayan thino khuira life ma zakhta tafne ekta target set hora lage. Amra maafik ta deini na satun tanda nize ekta buzoin. So afnara amra rekho ka telephone khoria. Ekta afnara khorsoin afnara bachcha into loge. Na amra young bhai bonen je dekhra. Timden amra telephone khoria kho. Ekta tumarda ekta apply khore ni, ekta right ni, khora lage ni. Because I remember growing up myself, even while when I was at university, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I feel as though sometimes, you know, when we're setting that bar that high, could that be creating a lot of challenges, Tanvir, and a lot of, say, for those youngsters who parents, you know, say, I want this from you, I want that from you?
Well, it depends really. Because if you set that bar really high, then you'll get two kinds of people, I think. The first kind of person is just going to have to make extra effort just to reach that kind of target. Like, say, for example, he's not got the grades to be an engineer, but he just realized to reach that high up, to really push his grades high up, he's going to have to work harder. So that's one type of person. Second type of person is the person, he sees the bar's too high, so he'll have to lower the bar. He'll have to, say, for example, he can't be an engineer, he's going to want to go into maybe healthcare or something like that. So he's going to lower the bar and then find out it fits him, and so he'll go for that. But then actually the third type of person is the person that has no motivation and they don't have a bar and they just give up. It's just too much for them. So it depends on, so in terms of these two type of people, it depends on the person's own mentality, which kind of person he becomes. Will he give up? Will he work harder? It's all down to that person's individual surrounding situation, I guess. And it's up to his parents, friends to kind of push him to follow the right path, I guess.
So Tanvir, parents who are watching this at home, how, because I think it's easy for a child to go home and say, if the parents say, how are you doing in your studies? Yeah, I'm doing well. And obviously you've got the end of year report, but by that time sometimes it can be too late. So what kind of signs would you say a parent could possibly spot, okay, that you might see amongst your friends, that they might speak to you and say, look Tanvir, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, so that it helps our parents at home try and identify if this is their child?
Well, a thing to look out for, like a lot of kids do this, I've done this sometimes as well.
Are your parents watching? You've just given away your secrets.
My mom knows, she can see through me.
That's fine.
It's that when they go home, if they're not doing too well at school, or maybe they're just demotivated because everything just seems too hard and they're stressed out, right? Well, a thing to look out for, if that is happening, is if they come home and you're asked, hey, how's your day, how's school? And they just give you some generic answer like, oh yeah, it was cool, it was all right, I'm doing well, everything's good. Whenever someone gives a generic answer like that, it's probably a red flag. Okay. So maybe if they keep seeing that being a question, now it doesn't mean if you hear it once that it instantly means they're involved in something. But if it happens too often, it's probably best if the parent starts being a little more proactive and just see like really, but not be too pushy, because especially teenagers nowadays, sometimes they can shun their parents if they become a little too pushy. Okay. And that's in all cultures, doesn't matter, Bengali, Caucasian, doesn't matter.
Okay, so that's the end of the first segment. I think that's really interesting. While we're going to the break, I want you to try and ask your children who are next to you, your young children, how their experiences have been, and whether what we've discussed in the first segment that applies to them. Okay, and try and please get involved, because this is your show. Like I said, আপনারা ব্রেকের মাঝে প্লিজ আপনারা হুতান লগে মাথৌকা জিকাউকা যে আমরা ডিসকাস করছি একটা তারা অ্যাপ্লাই করে নিনা না আর please stay with us. We're going to go for a break, and please join us after the break.